this is enough, that the rate of technology will be enough so that it will at least some form of this kind of like human-computer interaction will exist sometime in our lives?
Well, I mean, human-computer interaction exists all the time in our lives, right?
And I'm
we
saying
have-
like, like cybernetics and that kind of thing.
Oh, you mean
Like,
implants in your head?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable. It has to happen sometime, right? I mean, why would it not happen? Because, I mean, we see everything that we see is pointing in the direction of improving technology, right? And Apple already has a chip called Bionic. Even though it's not organic, it's a chip called Bionic, which kind of is a hint that we're moving in the direction of generating organic, quantum computing, and so there's new paradigms of computing are emerging, new platforms eventually maybe, and then we get to finally understand that what is it in a human that is actually just computing, and what is it in a human that is human, right? Because as a human we have our thinking, feeling, emotive beings as well as mechanical beings that do computing things, right? And the way I look at it is all through history. People, and I said this before in the previous quarter. Angeline, I think one of my students, she was sitting there where Taylor is sitting now, and she asked me, we were talking about robots and compilers, and she said, why aren't you worried about robots coming to take over our jobs, right? Lots of people will be jobless because robots are taking over jobs. For me, I think it is a great boon. That's the way it should be, because I don't see it as humans losing our jobs to robots. I just look at it as humans dumping robotic work on robots, because we have been doing robotic jobs for goodness knows how long, right? Every time I do something, I'm just doing repetitive shit, right? Doing this, and most of the time, you think about what you're doing, 90% of the activities you do in your daily life every day is mindless activity, because you can do it without thinking about it, right? You're walking from here to there, you don't have to think about it, you just walk, right? Because most of it is in the subconscious. Anything you can do in the subconscious can be done in a robot, with a robot, because that can be programmed. So more and more of these jobs are, being offloaded to a robot as they rightfully should be. There's nothing to complain about. We should rejoice. We should rejoice that the human as of today there's a lot of routine computing in it. We're doing a lot of boring computing stuff, and we're also doing a lot of interesting human stuff. Creating things, having fun, having pleasure, right? Enjoying things with other people, right? So that's more human, and we're a mix of those two. Let's just do this and get all of that in the hands of computers. Eric?
Yeah, I read an article a couple of years back now. They were talking about how I think that it's a perception issue.
Perception?
Yeah, because a lot of like the values, in particular in America, come from the industrial era.
Yeah, yeah.
And the whole point of shifting to the digital era is to be able to use our digits.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
All the industrial things, but it's been like throughout my lifetime, I've been seeing the shift of blue collar jobs becoming more and more not obsolete, but digital.
Right.
versions. So that overall people can spend more time to get educated, focus on shifting to the digital era, and there is going to be resistance.
Right. Resistance, but I think it's more like inertia. It's not like permanent resistance. It's just people like stability. They want to be they're happy, and that's what I feel. Most of these values, like you said, that we have today, they were put in place because they were useful at some point in history, right? At some point in history, they were useful.
100 years ago.
Yeah, maybe a few hundred years ago they were useful, but I think humans have this tendency to settle into these local minima and say, these things work. Let's not mess with it anymore, and focus on other things. But unfortunately, they don't work anymore, and still stick with that. But I think that's the problem. It'll change. I'm pretty sure in next 100 years, Eric will come back and say, you guys are going to live for a few hundred years, right? Because because the advances in technology and genetics, you can choose to say, well, I'm going to press the die button in 5 days or in 5 years, right? You'll have a button to press when you're ready to go. All right.
But I think that's also. I think the one thing that actually could help shift perspective on it is really the prosthetic.
The prosthetic limbs?
The prosthetic limbs and
Yeah.
how much it's able to help people, because again, just over the last 10 years, maybe even 5 years, people can 3D print their own prosthetics now.
Yeah.
They're not.
Actually, I 2 days ago on LinkedIn or something, I got a news article. Parkinson's, that people have been struggling so hard to cure. And Michael J. Fox, the Back to the Future guy, he spent so much money and resources trying to fund research in this area. But now I think they have finally found a cure for it by a deep, I think it's called a DBI, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know, a DBS, deep brain stimulation, right? So they implant a chip in your brain, which all it does is basically through very fine targeting, it just sends electrical impulses to certain areas in your brain, tickle neurons, and these neurons basically regenerate or block signals or something. It's completely cured apparently. So, and I'm thinking this is a neurological thing. People are so, playing with the brain is such a risky business, right? And even that, we're making major strides. I think we are very quickly approaching an era where, humans can just be pure humans without having to do any non-human things.
Yeah, because I mean, that's kind of where, you're just looking at like my grandparents. Like
Yeah.
my grandma, she's still really resistant to taking like prescription medication.
Uh-huh.
She'd still rather go with like herbal remedies.
Yeah.
As opposed to like
Yeah.
things that have been researched. And she almost died from a herbal remedy once.
Uh-huh.
So I'm kind of like, but it's just.
Yeah, but when a person that old says this is what I want to do, they probably have a reason for it, right? I mean, maybe they say that's it's okay. I don't want to keep on going like this. I'll do the. I don't know. They may have 100 reasons, right? So I don't know why they say that. Sometimes they are set in their ways. Sometimes they say, I've had a good life. I don't need to. Yeah. But you're right. We do get set in our ways, and we say, no, I don't want to change. Sometimes that happens. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's do this now. Would you like me to do a really quick demo? No talking during the demo. Even I won't talk. Okay, unless you ask me. So I'll do a really quick demo of creating an array. I'll create two different ways, arrays in two different ways. In the modules and everywhere else that you read, you'll be seeing that, or in Zybooks too, they start off saying, you want to use arrays, use vectors, right? And using vectors is I think,